Today I studied about observer pattern. Let me just fix this. Okay, so today I studied about observer pattern. Okay, so I'm just trying to understand the same here. So, like in the last video, we talked about various principles related to, or like basic principles related to the design patterns, right? And today we need to add a new tool to our set of tools. So it's basically strive for loosely coupled code when in between interacting objects in interacting objects. So let's understand what this is, right? So what we mean by loosely coupled. Loosely coupled means each like if we have two, four, or eight interacting or multiple interacting objects, then uh, those objects should not like depend on any other object, right? Those should be independent, and they can be called independently. For example, in like computer science, we may have a, let's say, a network client, right? We can have a network client. That's basically a wrapper over our HTTP calls, right? And anyone can, like any app can use this. So app does not need to like know who is governing the network client. It can be any client, right? Similarly, network client does not need to know about the app, right? So in this case, it becomes loosely coupled. Okay, so like with this, let's start today's video. So today's video would be about observer patterns. Observer pattern. Okay, so let's first start with what is observer pattern. Okay, so a observer pattern is basically a pattern that defines let me just write that down as well. Defines defines one to many dependency between objects, so that when when one object changes, the state, all its dependents are notified and updated. Yeah, so this is observer pattern. So this is a very formal definition of observer pattern, right? So what, like practically what it does, right? There's a subject, and then there are observers. Let's OBS1, OBS2, OBS3, and these observers are dependent on the subject for the state. So subject also contains state, and whenever this state changes, let's say through an external medium it changes, subject notifies all its observers, right? So subject also has ways so that new objects, if any other object comes, it can subscribe to it, right? And similarly it has ways so that observer may be removed, right? So for the next update, once again, so for the next update, subject can push out updates like this and would not include observer 3. So yeah, that's what all observer pattern is. It's like different from pub sub model, different from pub sub. So in the sense that in pub sub model, what we have is basically a subscriber can subscribe to topics, right? Can subscribe to topics of publisher. But in this case, like only the subject, whatever the subject gets, it publishes all its observers, and observers cannot individually subscribe to a topic, right? So this was very formal discussion. In a very vague way, if you're very new to design pattern, what I understood is basically it's same as in the real world we subscribe to a newspaper. So let's say that if Times of India comes at your home or any other newspaper, we subscribe to it. Now, newspaper does not need to know what about us, right? Newspaper does not care about us, or not, does not need to know about us, right? And we just subscribe to its monthly subscription, and it comes on a daily basis, right? So that's basically what a real life example of an observer pattern would be. Now I will try to implement it in a in code, right? This was theory. Now I will try to implement it in a code, in code. Okay, so we can just okay, we can just do one thing. Okay, so we will what will we be doing? Like let's take a problem statement which like deals with observer pattern very in a very good way. So we have to design a weather data reporting station, reporting service, or a reporting display. Okay, one second. Display such that any new display could be added to our service and it starts receiving the data. Okay, it should be extensible and easy to maintain. Okay, so for this, assume we already have a weather data report and it is updated each time the data is updated via sensor. Now we don't need to know about sensors, we don't need to know about how it is being updated. We know that we have a weather data report and we need to update the like update our display with it. So design should be extensible and easy to maintain. So this is our problem statement. Let's just rename this. Okay, right. So let's first see in pen and paper how it works. Right. Okay, so what we need to do, okay, what will we have? We have a weather data report, right? We have a weather data report that is, let's say, updated via sensors. So we can have, let's say, temperature sensor, can have a humidity sensor, and we can have a pressure sensor, and it pushes, like, it updates the report. Now what we need to do is we need to create a some devices, like, let's say that the which basically display some information. Let's say this one displays temperature, this displays a humidity, okay, this display displays pressure. Okay, and any new display, if it comes up, it can display the same, right? We know that report has an update method, like whenever it is updated, and the, let's say, let's change it to, it have a on report change method. It's called whenever any of these things changes. It has a temperature, it has humidity, and it has pressure. Okay, so kind of what we can say, report is itself observing these sensors, like in a basic sense. Okay, and so basically our this object would be the main subject, and these all would be the observers, right? So it's a simple design. Let's try to implement it. Okay, it in code. Okay, so we have, let's say, an interface which says a subject interface. It has add observer. Okay, another one. We also have a interface observer, and this would be, it would say void update. Right, and we have an interface subject which has various methods. So void add observer, obviously it takes a observer. Void remove observer, takes an observer. Okay, void notify observer, notify observers. Okay. Hmm. Okay, now we have a class which is our weather data report. This is given to us, and it has in temperature and humidity int pressure and a method void on report changed, right? So this is where we receive the report, and on report change can be like, it obviously would be supplying something, right? So it would supply temperature, humidity, pressure. Okay, now our weather data report is a subject, so it will implements subject. Okay, it will also have an array of observers. So array list of observers, array list equal to new array list, and we can add observer to this, we can remove from this. Okay, and in notify observer, we can say for each observer call the update method, right? Like that. That's what makes sense. So for observer O in observers, let's name it observers. In observers call O dot update. Okay, so let's say that I want to create a let's say I create a let's see what service, set class temperature receiver service, right? Receiver service. Okay, also it will have getters command in. Or maybe we can do a better thing. We can just say and whenever the report changes, I would say notify observers, right? So we have a weather data report object, we can set the report, and whenever the report changes it will notify the observers, right? So we can have a class temperature receiver. It basically lets extends observer. sorry, implements observer. Okay, so in update we know that something has changed, and also I think we need to pass a, while creating it we'll pass a weather data report object, right? Say weather data report, this dot weather data report equal to weather data report. So it is kept as global variable so that we can basically like get things from it, or also if we want to unsubscribe or from it, then we can unsubscribe from it, right? Also when we create this object, okay, we can be, let's say, public void register observer, what is does it dot add observer, this public void remove observer, you can say this, oh sorry, one second, say weather data report dot observe this. Okay, on updation we can just say this dot temp is equal to weather data report dot temp. Oh, one second. Get temp. Right. So this is my temperature receiver. Now, okay, let's create a display for this. Right. So we'll create an interface display. It will contain a void method display and class temperature display. Temperature display. Which like say implements display. So it has to take something as well. So temperature display would take in the temperature receiver. And it will call the display. So okay. Second. This will also take a string. What it needs to display, right? So display temperature receiver dot get temp dot, so you can say Okay, and it will just say system dot printers. Right, so let's come to our main method now. We will create a temperature weather report. Okay, weather report equal to new weather data report dot set report. Let's say we have 0 temperature, then we have 10 humidity, 20 as a pressure. Now we have a temperature receiver equal to, or maybe we can just say subject, right? Okay, receiver is an observer, right? So new temperature receiver, and it will take a weather data report. Okay, now we'll have a display temperature display which will say temperature receiver. Oh, okay, let's do one thing. Basically, temperature display will also have to subscribe to this, which will create another interface and will observe. So let's not go this deep. Rather than creating like temperature receiver is at the end of the day what we need to display, right? So rather than creating a receiver, I will directly create a display, and the display will directly subscribe to it, to the weather report. So we will just have a method display. It will implement display as well. So that makes sense. Oh, my bad. Why is this? Oh, implements display. Oh, my bad. So whenever we update the temperature, we can just say this display is here. Right now we don't need this class. Set degree, right? So this should display the degree. Now I can just create a temperature display from the weather data report. Temperature receiver. I don't think I should have a method called to this. Is it public? So I'll just say temperature receiver dot temperature display, set display, temperature display dot, my bad, dot display, and I have to supply the temperature which I will be doing. Okay, yeah, makes sense. So like the temperature display already has this temperature, right? It does not make sense to provide it a string. Now let's say that I change the weather data report dot Set report now changes to 20. This changes to 40. Now I'll set up the display to display. If I set the report, notify the observers, should come to notify the observer, which would trigger the update. Update should come here. Update should set the weather. Something is going wrong. You're subscribing to this, right? Add up. Oh, we never registered the. We never registered the. Oh, so okay. Temperature display dot. Let me just say. Register observer, remove observer. So, observer update. We can directly, like, why would the client, like, anytime an observer is created, it should be added to the this. And for remove observer, we can create a public method, right? Yeah. So now I think it would work. Yeah. So 0 degrees, 10 degrees, then 10 degrees. So first update is, I think, 0 degrees, 10 degrees, and again 10 degrees. Let's change this to 20, 40, 80, and again I would say temperature display to display. Okay, it's visiting 2 times. Let me just see why it is doing. On update is printing display. Ah, I see. Yeah. Okay, so like this is what our observer pattern is doing. Now similarly, if I, let's say, want to create another display, like I want to create a, let's say, let me just wait a minute. Temperature RH, humidity, temperature, relative humidity. This formula. Okay. Let's say that a requirement comes in that we need to create a heat display, right? So we can actually do that. Let me just pull out some formula. Make it smart. Get heat index txt.